Lawrence.
Yeah. His head.
Exactly. Hello, and welcome to Journeys with Judy. I am Judy Forder, your host, and we have Jen Bucko behind the camera, the executive producer, taking care of all things technical in life.
Hello.
We are here in Carlisle, Pennsylvania today with Emily Katzaman.
Hey everybody. Thanks
Emily,
for tuning in.
You are a holistic wellness specialist, and you are the owner of Upgrade Your Life Health Coaching.
Yep.
Fantastic. You do a lot of other things.
I sure do.
And we will talk about that.
Yes.
But we're going to begin where we always begin. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Hummelstown, Pennsylvania, so not too far from here. So I'm a South Central Pennsylvania native, and basically just went away to college and then came back and started working. So I enjoy the area and didn't get too far from home being in Carlisle. So
good. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have one older sister, Melanie, and she's in the area as well.
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. Are you two close?
We are. We do see each other quite a bit for holidays, and I have a niece that I love, and so when I get to see her, that's super. So,
How old is
yes, she's 7.
Oh,
so
that's fun.
Just, yeah, great age, and she loves to have fun and always says, "Where's my Auntie Em? Like, I want to play with my Auntie Em." So it's awesome. Yeah, it's just like the Wizard of Oz.
Perfect.
So.
How would you best describe your childhood?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I would say pretty free-spirited, I guess, up until like school, probably, in terms of like having to be dedicated or feeling very dedicated to what I was doing older, like in older grades. But when I was young, like I have really good memories of like playing outside and just like having friends over and going to friends' houses, and like everybody in the neighborhood knew each other, and like we were really close. And
That's
so
fun.
I look back at that and I say, wow, that was so nice to have that, because I know a lot of kids don't necessarily have that anymore.
No, that's been a huge change
Yes.
in childhood growing up these days.
Yes.
Now, are you still in contact with any of your friends from the neighborhood?
I am, and some do live not too far from here. But like one of my good friends that lived in the neighborhood, her and I used to live really close to each other before I moved to Carlisle. So, but yes, I do have friends that live in the area, but some that don't, we still keep in touch, which I'm so grateful
what I found.
for.
Yeah, I found Facebook was really good for that.
Oh my gosh,
Because there's a bunch of neighborhood kids, I have 3 siblings. So they're of all ranges, and we've all been able to reconnect through Facebook. So that's been fun.
There's perks for
Yes,
sure for
definitely.
technology. Like, what's that person up to? Like, you would lose touch otherwise.
Absolutely.
So it's very helpful.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Yeah.
So what would you say is one of your fondest childhood memories?
Yeah, I was thinking about when my sister, the neighbors, would play outside in the backyard, and we had a big tree house, and so we would spend like hours outside playing in the tree house, making up different scenarios, like flying down the sliding board, swinging, and I know like I had a videotape of like me, and it was really cool to look back on, but my family didn't have a video camera, ironically, like being on camera now, and a lot of people having cameras now. But I remember some of that, just like this video clip of me just having so much fun and playing and being very, very free-spirited and just using my imagination and just loving
So you
those
spent a lot of
times.
your time outside.
Yes, and
okay.
especially
In
summers.
nature, yeah.
Especially when I was younger, we spent a lot of time with friends and just being outside.
Good.
So yeah, picnics. I know we did that quite a bit. Picnics just out on the picnic table on the patio, or sometimes in the tree house too. So
Perfect.
it was perfect.
Now, did you vacation with your family?
We did.
Yeah, where'd you
Sometimes
all go?
the beach.
Which one?
sometimes. We went to Rehoboth
Okay.
quite a few times.
Nice.
And
A lot of
I'm
Pennsylvania
trying to
people
think.
like go to the Jersey Shore or something. And everyone's like, Jen took me to
Yeah.
the Jersey Shore for the first time a couple months ago.
I'd
I'd never been.
long ago.
Everybody's
Okay.
like Ocean City. I'm like Ocean City, Maryland. No, New Jersey. I'm like,
They're so close, and so sometimes I think it's funny because they're different states, they seem so far, but some are so close to each other, some of the Maryland to New Jersey.
Yes.
So you could do all of them actually in a couple days.
You
if
really
wanted
could.
to. I did that recently, so.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did that this summer,
Oh,
where it was
cool.
like, well, why not? Let's just kind of go up around.
Now,
up
which
around
one
the
did you
beach.
like the best?
Oh goodness. That's a great question. Well, Assateague I was there for a little bit, and it was like around the 4th of July, so it was pretty busy.
Nice and busy.
Otherwise, but Assateague wasn't so much, and so there's the wild horses, and it just was peaceful and calm. So I would say I really liked that, because it's just so different. Like, you don't expect horses at the beach. But my parents, my family did go there one time when we were kids, and I remember really liking it. So I like animals, so I think there's a nature, so there's something to that probably too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like you had a pretty average, normal, whatever people would want to say, outside a lot, doing your thing as a kid. Did you have any challenges?
Challenges, gosh. Oh. Yeah, I'm trying to think back to like what would have been the most challenging for me. I mean, I did dance and I really loved it. I wouldn't say it was too intense, but sometimes like I had practice like all in one night, or as I got older, I do recall like there being a lot to juggle, and I'm sure people can relate to that, where it was almost like this, you know, do you want to do sports? Well, if you want to do sports, you're going to have to give up this, or like it was just all this kind of picking and choosing. Like, where do I want to put my time and my energy toward my schooling, toward my after school activities? So I found that a bit challenging, but I ended up doing like dance, music, playing the violin, which was something I really enjoy.
So you went toward the arts.
I did, for sure. Yeah.
Now, a lot of people will say they realized that they were different. And that made them struggle a bit socially. How did you do socially in school?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we're like putting it all out there, and I'm cool with that. Like, I think people, like when I've asked people now, like if I've been to reunions and like talked to people like who they thought I was back in school, I don't know, it could have changed based on age and all of that, but I think a lot of people looked at me like she's so like into like her schooling, and so like she's quiet, or maybe she's not as interested in, I don't know, being friends with me, or, you know, like, I think that was the impression from some people that I got, but I also, like, was very open to everybody, and I'm proud of that, like, because I remember in school even, you know, someone new moved to the area, and maybe they didn't dress a certain way, they didn't fit in, per se, but, like, it always bothered me if people didn't treat that person, you know, kindly, and wasn't open to them.
So you were different, because you were non-judgmental.
Yes, the whole clickiness, like I tell people point blank, like that's not for me, and I do see myself, like I get very upset and frustrated when people get like that, and they start excluding people, and especially if they act like they're being open to others, and then it doesn't match what they're saying. So yeah, I guess I'm different than some people in that regard.
Yeah, I keep feeling like people would have described you as an old soul back then.
Yeah.
Because it takes a certain level of maturity and wisdom to be able to be of school age and not be judgmental.
Do that.
Yeah. So that's.
Yeah, I'm not like go with the crowd kind of girl.
Yeah.
And I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that more and more. So, and people have said that about me. Like I've had family friends that are older, like a good amount older than me, and I've gotten that comment a few times. Like you can talk to anybody, you can like fit in with any age, and I'm proud of that too, because there's so much value in talking to people and getting to know people of all different ages and backgrounds. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, that pretty much carried you through high school.
Yeah.
So, you know, here you are, some people are thinking that you're shy,
right.
but you're open and non-judgmental. We go off to college. Where did you go to college?
I went to Bloomsburg University.
What did you major in?
I went for speech therapy. I decided to go for speech. There's only so many programs that have it or had it at that point. So
now, what made you pick that?
Yeah, good question. So I had a careers class, and I'm glad because it really helped us to at least narrow down like what would be something that I'm interested in. And we had to pick 2 different jobs, I believe, and then do either a presentation on it. One of them I had to do a presentation, and then I think the other one, both of them we had to go observe. So there were different components to the project, but I think we had to pick one that we wanted to talk about the most, and then we presented that in front of the class. But I did optometry or speech therapy.
Okay.
So I was starting to realize like I want something related to health, but I also wasn't feeling like I wanted to be real in it as much as like maybe a nurse or a doctor.
Okay.
So I was looking for ways to help people and then have that like science health kind of background. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so you major in what?
Speech therapy, but there's like
speech
language pathology. There's a
I was
couple
going
ways
to say, because I always want to say speech pathology, and I know that's not what you say. Okay, that's why I hesitated. I was like, you're going to be wrong.
They're the same. Some people prefer like one being like maybe more prestigious than the other, but I guess it goes back to me being like
non-judgmental.
Tomato,
Exactly.
It is what I do.
I help people.
So, exactly.
Okay, so speech therapy. That's a 4-year degree, right?
It's actually 6 years.
Okay, I was gonna.
Yeah, now anyway, it is 6. When I went to
I had a friend that did that too, and I thought it was 4, and then another 2 because you have to get your master's, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying to think when it's shifted, but there are therapists that got their bachelor's and are still practicing, and then it got changed later that you needed to get your extra 2 years and get your master's, but now it's master's. So.
Okay. All right, so you are a master.
Yes.
And how long have you been doing this?
Oh my goodness, the time is just flying, I feel like. So it's going to be, well, in May, I guess it'll be 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So did you have any challenges when you went away to college?
I feel like, and this might help people who are planning what they're going to go and do after high school. I felt like I knew I wanted to do speech therapy, but there was still a lot of unknown as far as like, going somewhere new, living there, like what is the experience going to be like? And I do remember the beginning being a little challenging, just get acclimating, but then once I got to know the area, got to meet friends and things like that, it was a lot easier and it was a lot better. And I did enjoy school, I enjoy learning, but I definitely remember there being this like, second year, I feel like that whole like shift from freshman to sophomore, like I know the place, I know more people, and just having a better feeling, like that was a good year for me. It was like the next year as I had acclimated.
Good.
So
excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you do all 6 years there?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and I kind of wondered, people would differ on opinions, like, is it good to stay at the same school? Should you consider going elsewhere? And I really did my homework on that to see, like, will it be that big? I know, that's me. And I probably put too much thought into it, but it just turned into, I know the professors, like I'll have opportunities probably here that I may not have, not to limit, but the other schools were okay with, having me come there, but they didn't know me from like all the work I did and the things that I put in to my 4 years. So I decided to stay.
And that was the best decision for you?
Yeah.
All right. So you get out of school, you get out of college, you got your master's. Were you able to find a job right away?
Yes, and I'm so grateful. That is one thing, like with speech, there hasn't been a shortage, not that I'm aware of by any means. I mean, maybe like candidate, like finding the right fit for you is a different story, but as far as like the job market, it's been pretty good from what I've experienced and witnessed. So I got out right away. I interviewed and then I started a job, I believe that very summer after graduating. So it's kind of a little bit of a whirlwind when I look back and I reflect of like, whoa, straight in,
dove right in there.
Going. Yeah, but I think I also too at that point was feeling like, graduate school, like money, like dwindling kind of thing.
Right.
So I just was like, I need to get right out there and like get started.
So where did you get started?
I got started doing therapy for a therapy company. And then I was actually in Susquehanna School District, so I was there for like 2 years doing a speech job with, I guess I was middle school, high school, and eventually some of the elementary school kids. Okay. So I kind of spanned like all different ages at that job.
Okay, before we go any further, did you work in high school and things like that? What kind of other jobs have you had?
So my first job was being a hostess at a restaurant by like Chocolate World.
Okay.
And I have probably good stories about that. It was hectic. I mean, the park gets very busy, and I was there in the summer, I believe, and through, some of the Christmas season. So Christmas, Candy Lane being very busy, and remembering, tables if they needed cleaned off. Like, I would sometimes help bus because there was nowhere to seat people. So I did do a little bit of this and that, but mostly I was the hostess there for my first job. And then, oh gosh, I'm trying to think if that was my main job, I believe, in high school, but I did jobs throughout college, and I was looking for jobs with kids,
right?
So that it would relate to what I wanted to do with speech, and I had a hard time finding something that at least would be like similar, like to teaching, because it just seemed like a lot of things wanted me to have a degree already, or they were like, you're too qualified, which was very frustrating. Like, I think when I got out of my bachelor's, a place said that to me for like daycare, that I was too qualified. I'm like, I'm not expecting more money.
I just want to work with kids.
And so I was just, there were some things that were very...
See, that was challenging.
That was definitely challenging. So I'm just like, all right, how do I build experience if I don't have these opportunities? But I was a camp counselor for the YMCA one year, and then I also was at the park again, being more like a friend of the house person, like serving people, ringing them up for I think 2 summers. So it was a little bit of working with kids and summer programming, and then also with the park.
Good mix.
So it was a good mix.
Yeah.
Got to experience all different people, different
it's
scenarios.
a great way to get you out there amongst the people.
Yeah, and it was good too, because a lot of my schooling, I guess I'd say challenging. It's not that I didn't do hands-on, but like hands-on in the fact of like making like materials or making lesson plan types of things. But it was so mental, like so much that goes into planning for speech therapy, that it was nice, honestly, looking back, to have a job where like, okay, I'm serving food. It was very just hands-on labor, and I'm like, oh, wow, because when I was done, I was done.
Relax your mind for a little bit.
Exactly. So I would say that is a challenge. Like, I know, and I tell people that in my coaching even, like, if you have a job that's very mentally exhausting or draining, I get it. I'm totally with you. Like, you're not alone in that. So I found ways to try to, manage and cope through that. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so you get your job at your school district. You spent 2 years there. And then what'd you do from that?
Yeah, so after that, I decided, well, gosh, I'm working in a school district. I'm doing the job of what a speech therapist does in a school district. Like, why don't I look at working for a school district?
Okay.
And so I ended up interviewing and getting a job in Hershey. So that's where I was living prior to here, prior to Carlisle. And there, it was good experience to see, like, how am I when I'm on the inside, like when I'm a member of the school. And I guess there was a sense of community. I got to know a lot of teachers there, which was super, and like be able to work closely with them. I was also between buildings, so we joke as speech therapists that we don't always really feel like we have a home, unfortunately, and that can be a hard. Yeah, it's like living out of bags and carrying bags all the time of supplies, materials. And so I was like elementary, middle school, like when I first started, then I ended up doing mostly elementary and middle school for the rest of the time, but then I think my last year I was kindergarten and first grade and middle school.
Wow.
So, and my rooms changed a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, just a little bit.
It was 5 years there. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you do a lot of things. Like, I try to capture that for people of like, as a speech therapist, you wear so many hats, and I don't know if everyone realizes that when they go into school for it.
No, I don't think
all
so.
you do.
I don't think, you think speech therapists that you do exercises with your tongue and your lips, and how do you teach them how to say words and make sounds and things like that. So I don't think people understand.
And things have really shifted, so that's something that I like to tell people, like, I don't know, I'm so, like, passionate about, almost, like, advocating, but I'm not always sure the best forum for that, like, just for, like, from a state level, too, of, you know, we've got a lot of kids that are not working on just pronouncing their R's anymore, like, there's kids that aren't speaking, they're barely speaking. Yeah, typical day, you know, could be that, I mean, a good amount of the day being therapy. So school day, you know, could be 7 hours, and each day is different based on the scheduling that you've done for yourself. So basically at the beginning of the school year, you're given your kids or your caseload, or you have to remember, like, if you're keeping kids from the year before, they're still qualifying, they're still, okay, transfer that over, but, like, where are they now? You have to do all of your scheduling. So, like, a big part of, like, being a speech therapist is being super organized, keeping a lot of details straight, communicating with a lot of people. Like, I don't know, too many speech therapists probably don't have to talk to a lot of people, but in a school, you've got the teachers, the staff, every teacher that child works with, depending on where that child is at the moment you need them for speech, their family.
I was going to say, with the families as well.
That can be hard in some settings, like the school, because parents are so busy now, and I've seen a shift in that too, where you might be sending stuff home, but you don't always hear back from the family, so you're trying really hard to keep communication going. So I would say, like, sometimes I get really frustrated because I'm like, I'm here to help others communicate, I'm here to help the children communicate, but, like, all of us as a team or a system and the way things are working, I often see breakdowns, and I have to try to, like, just let it go, but it's really difficult because it affects everything that I do.
Right.
So,
and ultimately you're trying to do what's best for the child, and when there's a breakdown, then...
Right, that's what it's all about ultimately. So trying to see, like, can we do some things to get this working better, rather than just, that's how it is, you know? Because that's what I hear a lot.
It's the way it's always been.
Right. Status quo. Like,
exactly.
And I totally, this is terrible that I forgot this, but, like, I worked with the state board, or the state association for speech when I was in college. So I had some leadership positions with speech.
Oh, nice.
And then carried that over once I graduated. I was on the board also, like, secretary. I was documenting the meeting minutes and knowing what was going on at the state level. So and that got me really passionate about.
I was gonna say, you got very involved.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know people's frustrations, but it was really difficult to hear them, try to help, and not see things change. So that's a hard, hard thing to be right there in front of it.
Be a witness.
See the bigger witness. See the bigger picture. Like, oh, it's not just me. It's all of these people. So it was heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. So you were there for 5 years.
For helping the board, you mean, or I'm sorry.
You were at Hershey, the school district?
Yes, I was there for 5 years.
And how long were you on the board?
Oh gosh. So I was a student representative for, I believe, it was like 2 years when I was like in college. Then it was either like the first year out of college, I might have been secretary, and I was that for a couple terms.
Okay.
So I was on the board for a couple years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So 5 years at Hershey, then what happened?
I was seeing all the teaming that went into things, and there were some difficult situations there, and I decided, I guess this is a huge part of my story, is that I was like, 5 years, like 5 years doesn't sound like a long time, but 5 years of everything that happened and what I experienced, I was like, I can't continue to be in this environment and have it be good for me or what is going on. So I decided I'm going to look at other options, and I ended up going back to doing like more of the contract work.
Okay.
And actually got a position that brought me here, which was for helping kids with autism. Okay. So it was more focused, I would say. Like every kid with autism is different, so you're still not like, ooh, this is easy. Yeah.
No,
definitely not. But it just helped me to focus in and feel more like a specialty, and I did feel like I could be more effective, I guess you could say. So that was very nice to be able to do that.
More rewarding?
Yeah, definitely. I could focus in on social language as opposed to, I mean, I still helped kids with pronunciation, like their sounds, but there was more of a focus on, can this child say hello to someone? Can this child like function, like just have the skills to be most successful in everyday life, you know, not just, okay, you need to know photosynthesis.
That goes beyond speech.
Yes.
That goes, yeah.
Yeah, and it was super rewarding. Yeah, but I also was seeing, and I've seen it over time, was the impact of other things going on for these kids with autism and like the health component. And I started to think, wow, okay, my health issues in the past, some of the things these kids are experiencing, like I really feel like this needs to be looked at as a whole, not as like I'm gonna just work on his R sound, or I'm just gonna work on like we need to start acknowledging this as a society of what's really happening here.
Wow. Okay, so you have brought up your own health issues.
Yes.
Let's go there. Let's talk about this. Yes, because
Sure.
Somewhere within there, your spiritual journey, your holistic path began. So let's.
Yeah.
When did all that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I can't put a single moment per se, but when I talk about it, I feel like definitely in college, I know there was like more stress, like mental and, I don't know, physically, I tell people I like went to the gym. I was doing a lot of like physical activity and felt my best in that regard. But I look at the whole thing and I look at like diet and I look at the stress and I look at college student, my habits, of just like, oh, I'm so stressed, I'm just gonna go out with friends. Like, so I'll be real, like I just, I know that time there was a shift in my body and in what I was experiencing that was not as easy and simple as when I was at home. Okay. And then when I was in college, I got sick a couple times and then I had a couple antibiotics. And I feel like, and I know from just what they do to you that was also a big component of things kind of rippling, like snowballing, because that was around my graduate school time, and that was also very intense, my grad program, and seeing children for speech, seeing clients, and doing my classes. And like when I ended up getting that job and I just went straight into the work world, there wasn't really this opportunity, I don't think, to slow down and say, wow, like what happened? My health is not what it used to be. But once I got out into working and it was still this intense pace and I wasn't feeling like my old self, I had no choice but to acknowledge it. So basically what was happening, like I felt like sluggish and I was keeping this intense like workload, but at the same time feeling like, oh my gosh, like every morning I'm just like, oh, or not even every morning. I mean, there were days that were better than others, but it's definitely what I see now is like some chronic illnesses, like every day is different. And so you might have a good day and then another day you feel like a Mack truck hit you. Yes. And I would feel that way sometimes. And I'm just like, how do I survive? Like, this is like sink or swim right here. Like, this type of job, how am I going to keep up with this pace at the same time as knowing that my health isn't what it used to be? So there was a lot of digestive slowness and energy issues, like insomnia. I know, like, I always like say shout out to my like speech and my like special ed people that I work with, because I still am around it. I'm still in the muck of it, like people like up till 1 a.m. typing on their computer, doing IEPs because they're so long, the technology isn't always working, like the paperwork is just extreme, and I haven't seen it change. Like it may have actually gotten worse, I would say in some regards. So, there's a lot of elements to that of like people or myself like not taking care of myself as much because I had these deadlines and I needed to be on the computer and I needed to get this paperwork turned out. And so not only was that was on top of the kids and the planning and the parents and just all the other demands that the job requires. So
now you mentioned that you noticed in school. Well, of course, everybody says you go away to college and the freshman 15 and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So you started to recognize that you weren't feeling as good as when you were home, you said. So when you would go home for the summer, would you feel that your body would readjust again?
That's a great question. I feel like it probably did help me.
Kind of reset a little bit?
Yeah, and at least like just having those summers without the workload, like the schoolwork. And then I think so in grad school we did have some summer classes. It was a little lighter, but definitely in grad school it was a pretty like a run, like a pretty no break per se.
Okay. Well, you talked about digestive issues.
Yes.
So was there a huge shift in your diet from home to school? Did you see there?
That's a good question. I know at school I would use like the meal plans.
Right.
On the surface, the food, it didn't seem like out of the norm. Like I wasn't eating, like fried food every day or anything like that. But I do look back and I ate some of the same things, like the things that were quickest, like a sandwich. Now people that know me know, like now I know that I'm gluten intolerant. So if you think about back then, I did occasionally go to like, there was a pizza place there that I had made friends for, but I was eating bread, like a sandwich every day. The quality of the food, it was mass produced. I've actually been talking to some people that go to college now and like, they're like, this company that does the food is like horrendous. And so I'm really concerned about that for people still, in terms of like you're in a very intense time of your life, studying, writing papers, like all this stuff, and you need good food. We all do. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in college or not, but it really takes a toll on people.
And what I found was at home, mom controlled what you ate.
Yes.
Because mom was fixing dinner, mom was doing, and then you go off to school and it's like, I can eat whatever I want. My mother would never let me eat French fries every day of the week. I'll eat French fries every day of the week.
Exactly.
So it is something that needs to be looked at, because a lot of your college campuses now have fast food joints part of the meal plan.
Yes. Yeah, and I think back to like school, even like middle school, I'll talk to friends about like, remember that shift between like the elementary meals and then middle school, there was more freedom.
And then high school, forget about it.
It was free
they
for all.
They go to the snack cart in between classes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and then I think too, like, this is a concern of mine is for just everyone in society is like, so I remember in middle school we had like the milkshakes and the French fries, but like the milkshake, I think, I could be wrong, but I feel like it was less than $1. But then the other food items were more expensive. Yeah. So like kids are saving up their money so they can get more snacks, which were not really good snacks, but they're picking the things that are cheapest.
Yes.
Well, that's just, it's logical. So I don't know. So yeah, I can look through life and say, wow, like look at the things where it really, like for me, and I can talk more about it, but like the autoimmunity and like your immune system being strong, it's not just one thing is what I tell people. Like they think, oh, it was that one thing I did. Like that's why this is happening to me. Oh no, it was lifestyle. It's, helping people really pull out and try to improve those areas so that you're working on everything again, not just one aspect that's contributing to it.
So do you remember the day that you were like, I can't do this anymore? I have to look deeper. There's something more going on.
Yes. And I would say it's amazing maybe how long it went in a way. Well, so the digestive issues had cued me in, like I'm like, this is just not normal. And I was starting to get like every now and then like these attacks where my abdomen would just get so tight and have, really these cramps and have so much pain with it. So I'm like, well, this is not okay. And so I started going down the route of digestive, like go to a specialist for digestion. And I was really frustrated because I was just finding them saying like, well, we don't really know what it is. And how about take this reflux medication or take this other medication? I'm like, that's not
but you're
telling me what the problem is.
But you don't know what it is.
Exactly.
How can you medicate something when you don't know what it is?
And I'm still like that. People look at me like, I'm like, oh, here she goes again, asking why and what. I'm like,
but it's important to ask.
We can't solve anything if we don't know what the problem is.
No.
So, so that really...
Now, how long did you struggle with that?
So 7 years with the digestive issues. I can say that, I'm sure there were parts that I put into my lifestyle that helped along the way so that I wasn't getting maybe as much of the, cramps or whatever. But again, it was so sporadic. Like it would hit me all of a sudden and I couldn't put it together, like what triggered this, and of course stress, like some days, yeah, there was way more than others, but I think one time that really hit me, and I kept telling doctors, specialists when I was going and seeking help for 7 years, was they're like, it's stress, or some of them said that. And I said, I understand. I will not say that I don't have stress. We all do, but I'm like, there's something else going on here. And I said, I went on vacation, like to this like Caribbean island with friends. And I'm like, even when I'm floating in a pool and it's beautiful, I don't feel right, you know? And I'm like, it's not just simply this like mental stress. It's body, like whole body thing going on here. So, and it is still, I don't think, quite maybe registered for them. Like, we still need to keep looking. We need to keep finding what it is that we haven't found yet.
Right.
So, yeah. And I know, but there's also like another pivotal moment too, where I was living in Hershey and I was in school, the school district, for 5 years. And I think it was especially as I was getting toward the end of the 5 years, and I'm like, I don't know if I can continue the way things are going. I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't feel heard, and I also felt like there was a lot of deep work I looked at for like, I'm a speech therapist, and why am I like, my voice hurts, or like no one's listening to what I'm saying, and that I think is a huge issue in different areas of life for people, but I think in the work I've been doing, it's been a huge issue of people expressing concern and then not fully being heard about the issues. So
you were not being heard in your professional life, and you weren't being heard in your personal life either.
Right.
You're trying to advocate for yourself.
So true.
Wow.
So I felt, and there's days I still feel like that, where I feel sandwiched in, I would say, a system that I don't agree with.
Right.
And that, so when I look at it, if you ask me like, digestive, I don't, like, it doesn't sit well with me. I've said that to people even recently, like, in my gut, it doesn't sit well with me, and that's why I think part of it, really a big part of it, is digestive system showing me like, your gut says this isn't right, or this isn't okay. Right. Some of the stuff that happens. So
in that 7 years where you're struggling to find answers, did you find that you wound up educating doctors more than them educating you?
I would say, I was asking questions like, I read this, I think I want this test, and especially as I got toward the end, I was finding more people, or staying with those people that were listening to me, and at least being on board with trying it.
Yes.
To see like, okay, we need to run this test, we need to run this blood work. I didn't think to do that, I wasn't trained to do that test, but we're gonna try.
You brought it to them, they heard you.
Yeah. And that was huge, but I still was like, man, like I don't feel understood, because it was still this, okay, I guess we'll try it, you know, it's still some reluctance, not a really good understanding that this is what needed to happen. So then that can put some doubt, right? Like, I'm reading this and I believe this is what I need to test for, but if the doctor or the professional doesn't believe that. And so I think a big message for me is, and I've read other people, even like I've read stories of doctors that were very well versed in things, and they didn't understand, because again, if they weren't trained in it, like lifestyle, more of the holistic, functional, natural approach, that once they figured it out, then they were going to appointments and they were trying to advocate for themselves, and they were like, I have the terminology, like I know, like from medical school, how to approach these people, these other doctors, and I still couldn't get it through to them. And that just really is profound to me, because here I felt that same way. I'm like, I'm not a doctor, I never will admit to be a doctor, but I know enough from my speech therapy and my master's degree to be able, and to communicate, to be able to communicate this, and why am I not being heard?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. 7 years of heavy frustration.
But my passion is there now, and I can see that, like, if I wouldn't have gone through that, like, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Absolutely. So along the way, what holistic modalities, or what did you start to gather from Eastern medicine?
Definitely. My big thing is kind of that listening to people, like going with our gut and really, finding, what are what are some of the things in their life that are stressful, that are not in alignment, talking about their history, like really taking quality time with people. I'm huge about that. That was a huge frustration of mine, like going to a doctor's appointment, 10 minutes later, I'm out the door and I don't feel heard.
Said, nope, they tried to give you some type of, Xanax or something.
Yeah, I had my piece of paper and my prescription. And
Exactly.
That's not what I went in for in the first place. So I would say like it's a relationship building thing for sure with people, but so it's guiding them and helping them to see. Did you find someone though?
Did you find someone that would finally hold space for you?
Yes.
That then made you want to get into holistic coaching like you are.
Yeah. Well, so the food sensitivity aspect, I found a functional doctor here in close by, and what I think I was also amazed by was how I hadn't heard about it before, because here I'm going to all these different places. I had started going Philly, some of the larger cities even, to try to figure out, do I go to this doctor? Do I go to that one? Who do I even go to? It was just a sea of confusion, I guess you could say, and asking around, does anybody know? And I was kind of at rock bottom when I was if I don't start feeling better, I might have to move in with my family, or not have my independence that I have right now, which was living on my own. That was my rock bottom, because I just knew that my energy was going down and my body felt like it was deteriorating. I don't know how else to describe it. I was having dental, even mouth, inflammation going on, and still people telling me nah, you're just.
I was gonna say, people don't understand it. I have a sister that has ME and chronic fatigue, and her story is very similar to yours.
Okay.
10 years she's shopping around, looking for doctors, looking for somebody to stop telling her she's crazy and it's in her head.
Sure.
But even me, I was taking her to doctor's appointments. She wasn't honest with me with how bad it was.
Okay.
So when you say I might have to lose my independence, people think, well, she's tired, she needs a nap. No, that's not it. That's spending days, months on the couch where you can't move, and sound hurts your head, and people don't understand that.
Sure.
Is that the things you were going through?
Well, and if you ask people now, what's kind of it is what it is, but people are I didn't know. You were smiling.
And it's the truth.
And people still say that to me.
Yes.
You're smiling, and I'm don't let it deceive you, because there's a lot going on behind a smile.
Yes.
And when you have to be at a job and you have to pay your bills, you have to make it work sometimes. And so that doesn't mean that someone is everything is just peachy with their life and how they're feeling.
Yeah. And it would take everything my sister could to get out to a family function, and then everybody would be so puzzled, because she looked good, you look great,
but now we're confused.
We're confused.
How'd you get the energy to
you look great, what do you mean? And that's just it. She wouldn't let people see her when she wasn't well.
Sure.
So that's where that whole just because I don't look, she's I would never wish cancer on myself or anybody else, but at least people can look at you and see that you're sick, and they understand.
Right.
People don't understand the invisible disease.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
and I've heard that a lot of times of people, being confused about someone, they're not coming to this, or they're just complaining. And I encourage people to, I don't know, you don't know if you're not in that person's body and in that person's shoes. We all feel things differently. We all have different thresholds for pain. We all have, so I know for me, I could feel my gut doing things and not feeling right, where someone else may not have felt that. And so I'm really big on helping people to understand with autoimmunity that there's silent, so to speak, even silent celiac disease, where someone can have no symptom that is gut related and still have inflammation, still have deterioration in their body from all of the inflammation. So to say, oh, you look fine, you're fine. Right. You can't make that determination just by looking at someone.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you find this functional doctor. Okay.
Yeah.
Things started moving for you? You started finding answers?
The food issue sensitivity was huge, because that was triggering my immune system. Now, when did that all start? I don't know for sure, but I do know now that, digestive issues, if you know you have them, you don't want to just let that go and not figure out how to fix it or to balance things again. And I knew that. I knew in my gut, literally and figuratively, that I needed to get that back in order. And then when it wasn't fully back in order is when I started getting more symptoms and was having the deterioration happening. Okay. So it was a snowball that it gets worse. It usually does not get better unless you've really figured out what to do about it. So turn my diet around based on my own unique inflammation, my own blueprint. And within a couple weeks, I was like, wow, energy levels lifting, body feeling significantly better. And I don't know exactly how long it was, but it might have even been within 6 months of that, because this was only 5 years ago. 6 to a year, I was looking into, should I become a health coach? Do I want to become a health coach? Or what avenue can I use this to help other people? Because this is insane that I went 7 years and went to so many people and we could not figure this out together in all of my research and everything. So
what food sensitivity? You mentioned earlier that you have gluten.
Yeah.
What else is there?
It's gluten and several other grains. Okay. I have gluten, amaranth, millet, buckwheat, and tapioca. So people will say, oh, you could have this gluten-free bread, and I always thank them, but I say, for me, it's better for me not to, because I have several grain sensitivities, and that tends to still be those things tend to still be in gluten-free bread.
And you can live without bread.
I can. I have found every now and then, a few breads that do not have those items, but it's really hard to find.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I do it is, oh my gosh, when you don't have something for a long time and when you are able to eat it or something comparable, it feels like heaven. you don't take it for granted, So.
Do you have a food that you miss the most?
Oh,
or
man.
have you been able to find?
That's a good question. I tell people, I used to love a cream-filled donut several years ago, and I struggled with that because I was all I want is just one more time. And so one time, I share this with some clients or people that go gluten-free. I decided, it might be wrong. I'm gonna try one. I felt awful. I proved to myself, which is what I think a lot of people have to do, sadly, sometimes, is that it wasn't just someone telling me this is true, and I need it. What's best for my body is I cannot be eating this right now. Maybe in the future, maybe something can change, but right now, I found out what it is. You cannot
this
be
is
on
it.
this.
There's no question.
Yeah. So, I've looked around. There's some very good bakeries that do gluten-free things. Sometimes they'll modify the recipe if you ask them, based on your unique needs, if they're catering toward people who are gluten-free anyway. So, now what's so cool and what's amazing is so that was 5 years ago. Again, 5 doesn't sound like a long time, but so much has changed. There's a much greater awareness in just 5 years.
Definitely.
You go to restaurants and they're not, instead of what's gluten? More people are just oh, I know what gluten is. Let me get you a gluten-free menu, or let me tell the chef, or don't get me wrong, there's still some challenges of different places not knowing about it, or some cross-contamination kind of issue stuff going on, which I'd love to, I've looked at that, even helping people at restaurants, to train staff or just understand better, because it's someone's whole day, or even more than that, if they get triggered, that person could be miserable for a month, depending on how their body reacts to the exposure. Wow. So,
Never even thought about that, training people in restaurants. That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, and I get it. There's so many allergies, there's so many sensitivities, so trying to keep up with it is certainly, I can feel for them.
Yeah.
How do I design this menu and have it be, honest and upfront and just everything for people based on their needs. So.
Yeah, Jen has a friend that's allergic to everything.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people that are allergic to everything.
Sure.
You go to the restaurant, it's give me the water, please. I'm good.
I always tell people that's kind of a red flag for getting to the root of it and gut issues. So if they're open to it, trying to kind of stop what's going on in its tracks before it keeps cycling. There's nothing more miserable. I'm so thankful that I kept persisting even though it was a struggle for 7 years, because I know there's a lot of people out there like, you know, just touching one thing, like they're having hives, or it's just they've got this full-blown allergic reaction to a lot of different things that accumulated or became a problem now. So yeah.
Okay, so 6 months into, or 6 weeks into you feeling better, you're thinking, I need to help people with this.
Yeah.
So this is where you went into the holistic coaching.
Yes.
Now, how did you find, I mean, there's life coaching, there's all kind of different coaching. What made you pick holistic?
Yeah. Well, even like in our program, sometimes they talk about like health coaching. And I don't know, I do think more people might use holistic now, but when I first got started, I was like, I can't not put that there. Like, no, like it wasn't one thing that I did. It was multiple things. It was deep diving into what needs to change in my life. Like, where am I struggling beyond just, you know, food. But the food was huge as well, because I didn't realize that was a huge piece of it. But, yeah, so holistic, I really, you know, the approach that I learned from my coaching school was holistic, but like that term to me has a very important significance. And so, yeah, so holistic is definitely just, what I stand for, and like why, you know, I'm looking at, it could be someone's job they're really
go beyond
struggling with, it could be family, and ultimately I tell people, we might focus on, in coaching, we might be focusing on that, like food. Let's say they're recently diagnosed with celiac or gluten sensitivities. So we might be doing a lot of diving into that. But as someone gets to know me and as they realize like my struggle, and like my hope is that they're realizing like, okay, Emily isn't just this gluten-free girl. Like she like has had her own struggles. She has come through it. She's still working on things. She doesn't have it all figured out. But we're in this together. That was profound for me, like, because I wasn't feeling that for quite a while. I was like, is someone else working with me truly grasping like how much this is impacting me? And do I feel like they're really, truly committed to walking with me in this long journey that I had been on? So yeah, for me, it's really working with people on like knowing them as a person and really, encapsulating, because sometimes after a while then it comes out that they hate their job, or it could be that they're having really tough relationship issues with family, friends, significant other, and that's the reality, like, because again, this impacts that and everything, so that's what and I'm okay with that. And I know some people, you know, obviously if it's not in my like repertoire, like I'm not gonna say like, oh, I'm an expert on helping people with, you know, this relationship problem per se. But I find a lot of people just really need someone that they know cares about them, and that's what I really needed. And knowing like, okay, I don't have all the answers. I tell people that like all the time. Like, if I don't know, I'm gonna try to help figure it out for you. But that might mean asking another person. So, and I don't know. I wanted that for myself, and I want that for other people, to be able to have someone who doesn't look at something through such a narrow lens that they miss what's so important that's going on around it. Yeah.
So it doesn't take your people 7 years to figure things out?
Yes. I always tell people, like, I want to shorten that time for you. Like, I believe we all go through struggles and for a reason, but I also believe that sometimes we go so long struggling on our own, and there's ways to make that journey a little easier.
And that's what your intention is, and I think that's fantastic. My sister still struggles with not being heard. The one doctor she found, they've worked really well together. He has since moved out of state, so she's on this whole new.
Oh wow!
And that's the thing. She's like, I go in there and they don't listen to me. They don't hear me. So that is huge right there.
Yeah, it's so defeating, you know, because
and it makes you not want to look anymore.
Exactly.
She's tired of looking.
Right. Yeah. And I see that in a lot of areas of life, like for me too, of looking at others, looking at myself, and being like, after so long, if you don't feel like you're being heard, people like the most dedicated, hardworking people, like you lose them, or you lose the part of them that is so great. They stop caring, and I'm like, these people, like they're amazing, but they don't care anymore. And that's what some of the like environments and systems are promoting that I've been seeing.
The school system's running rampant with that.
Yes, I need a deep breath about that, let it out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when did you start your own coaching business?
Yes, I was looking at my certificate for when I officially finished my coaching program, it was 2016.
Okay.
So I go, wow, where have the last 3 years gone? And I guess it'll be, well, in 2020, then it'll be 4 years, coming up on 4 years in June, I believe. So I didn't get everything started at once, of course. Like it took time to really be like, what's the process? How do I start my own business? But really, like by 2017 then, like things were rolling pretty good. And yeah, so it's been great. Like I feel like it's a way that I'm able to express my creativity. I found multiple ways where it's just like not feeling so like, constrained by other things that I've done. Where I can be a leader, my own leader. I can really fully express myself for the most part and be who I am, and that is more powerful than anything. So
excellent. And obviously it's something that you're passionate about.
For sure.
Everything about you lights up when you speak about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone were to schedule a session with you,
Yes. Yeah.
what would that look like? What does it look like? What do they do?
Yeah, definitely. So I get people started with a consult, and for the consult, we do usually like 75 minutes. So it's really to get, again, a thorough understanding of like, where were you and where are you now and like, where do you want to go with your health? And again, I coach people on a variety of things, but my forte or the specialty really is the health aspect. So usually in a consult, I'm looking at things like, food, your lifestyle, your what have you tried in the past. Sometimes it's, it could be weight loss is one aspect of it, but I've tried all these things, and this is what I tried. Did it work? Like we really go through that. Why do you think it didn't work? So it's a lot of educating, which I love because I've always been one to ask questions. I've always wanted to have, at least a basic understanding like of why am I doing this? So that I have my own buy-in, like I'm going to do this because, and why is it so important to do it this way? So the consult is awesome. We problem solve through the challenges somewhat and then develop a plan together. What I tell people and I try to emphasize to them is the consult is great, but it's the ongoing journey in the relationship. Like I didn't get here I got here in 7 years. Like it's a journey. And so, I encourage people to look at doing like a 3-month or a 6-month program with me, which is usually meeting like every week or every other week. Okay. And that is profound. Really getting, again, just working through what we're working on together and then following up. That accountability is huge because I think a lot of people realize like once you get started on something, it's exciting and it's great in the beginning. But then times get tough with something that we're really fighting against or resisting against, and it's important to have time on your side to be able to, and the support
I was
to
gonna
keep
say
going.
The support's huge. Yeah.
Yes. So that's how I get started. So I always tell people, book a consult. Reaching out to me, booking the consult is the first step. But it's just looking at like, are we a good fit to work together? I always want people to feel comfortable that like, if for some reason them or I are like, whoa, okay, like this isn't really an area that, I work on or support, or it's just not a great match or something, that's okay.
Right.
There's, I had practitioners that I really had a great connection with when I was looking for health support, and some that I didn't, have a great connection with, and it's important to have that.
Absolutely. So are all of your clients in person only, or do you do remote?
Great question. So I did mostly like in person, I think, when I first got started. And over time I've realized, wow, people are, very busy, and I totally get that. And so there's sometimes where just even like the traffic issues. And so I offer remote, and it doesn't matter. You could be up the street, but remote may work better for you. So we can do it online, phone, or, online through like Zoom or Skype. And I've even had times where, someone was out of state, And that is so like exciting, and just it makes me feel so amazing because again, like I know for myself, if I would have driven, you know, how many hours out of state and had some of the appointments that I had that didn't turn into anything, or 5 minutes and you're out the door.
Right.
I just feel like that I want to offer that to people. I don't want them to be limited by location.
Perfect.
And their ability to even get out of the house. Because
Right.
I've had people contact me and it broke my heart, but they were homebound
Yeah.
because of what they're dealing with.
Absolutely.
So it's so key for me to be able to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So how could someone reach you if they wanted to set up a consult?
Yeah, so for people on Facebook, they can just go to Upgrade Your Life Health Coaching, my business page, and you can search at the top on Facebook. So Upgrade Your Life Health Coaching, and then my phone number is on that page, as well as my email.
Okay.
And you can feel free to message me too on there as well to get something scheduled.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then I just get back to you, and it's very personal. I'm still really big on it's me and me, and I, you know,
That's
really
what you
support.
get. You get me.
You get me guys, so yeah, and having
Excellent.
that relationship, so.
Fantastic. Okay, so do you have anything coming up? Are you doing any workshops, lectures?
Yeah, I have some things in the works, but what I definitely have on the calendar so far for the new year is January 2nd at 11 a.m. on Zoom. I'm going to be doing more about my story, like go more in depth with my health struggles, my journey, and I have it. The title is From Darkness to Light, and I love that. Are we out of time?
The angels are singing.
Oh, no, that was beautiful. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing that, and there's a Facebook event. So if you go to Upgrade Your Life Health Coaching and look at events, it's the one that's coming up next, January 2nd. But again, if somebody can't find it, just let me know. I had posted it on my personal page as well.
Okay.
It doesn't cost anything. All you do is RSVP, like say you're coming, and then I'll send you the link for that date. And it's at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Outstanding.
So I have that coming up. I have a couple, they're not quite finished yet, but some possible, some speaking engagements. So I'm trying to get out there and talk more to groups and just really educate and empower people to, I would say, take charge of their health, because that's what I had to do and didn't maybe realize for a while, this is what I'm going to have to do. So I buckled down and had to and did it.
Wow.
So,
Outstanding.
So that's what I got going.
There's nothing better than sharing what you've learned, how you've helped yourself. I mean, that's
Right.
that's what holistic work is.
Exactly.
You gotta work on your own shit before you help anybody else, and that's exactly what you've done, and that's fantastic.
Right. And I know people, if they've looked at my profile, my profile shifted as I've grown, and one thing from spiritual, journey too is, hope, that I deep down, there's been rough times. I think we've all had rough times where I was like, can I do one more thing? Can I keep going? But there was a part of me that was like, you have to keep going. And that's when I finally discovered the food issues and the things that propelled me into where I am now. So I'm big on hope, and just I want to show people you might have people telling you it's all in your head. You might have gone to 100 doctor's appointments and been told who knows what. You may have, no one in your family believes you. You might have got left or let go from a job because of your health issues and they didn't believe you. But there's hope, and there's so much for you out there beyond your illness once, you're able to get through that. So I talk to people about that even beyond just as a friend, there's hope.
You're living your purpose.
Yeah, and I tell people, I'm like, it gets hard some days, but that's what it's about, ultimately.
Excellent.
That's where the joy is, so.
Okay, our last question. We always ask for pearls of wisdom. A lot of people are struggling out there.
Yeah.
What's a little pearl of wisdom you'd like to leave them with?
Sure. I was thinking about it tonight and before this, and I was just thinking there were definitely times, and I still am working on it, of where I look to other things, being a business owner, there's just so much going on in life, right? jobs and things and all the things I'm doing. And so I find every time I'm not happy or something's really frustrating me that I start to realize, like, wait a second, Emily, like, that is like outside of you, and where am I giving, really, I think a big lesson for me is like, where am I giving power away to other people and other things to define me and my happiness, and kind of what you said, purpose. You know, like, no one knows that better than me and what's in me. And so when I'm unhappy, it's often because, again, things around me are not in alignment with what my purpose is, and then I'm feeling this, just frustration, and it's just miserable. But the more, like you said, I'm like lighting up, or the things I talk about that I really enjoy and that are my purpose, people can see that, but I have to remind myself of it and not get too wrapped up in all of the other things going on, all the noise.
All the noise.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I guess that would be my big thing, is go within yourself, and, you know, if you're unhappy with your current circumstances, it's not always easy by any means to make a change, and that's why I do coaching, is helping people make difficult changes.
Yes.
But you have to think about what's on the other side of it, because when you're stuck in something, it could be a couple days, it could be a year, it could be your whole life. And I see that with some people, like, they have a realization like years later. And I always tell people, it's not too late, never too late to make a positive change. But certainly, like, there's things like illness and autoimmunity, like, your body, like, goes through so much the longer you let it go. And so I encourage people to be proactive, like, listen to yourself, back to yourself, like, being aware and taking care of yourself is where it starts. So.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next week we will be back with Natalie Toma. Correct?
Okay.
All right. And Natalie, we'll be in Enola, Pennsylvania. Natalie Toma, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for watching.
Yes, and don't forget, you're awesome.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
You're right, like, I just totally was like, wow.